Hey everyone, and welcome. It's May 5th, 2026. I'm Jennifer Britton, and welcome to our May Hot Topic call on group coaching. Today, I'm framing it human connection and capacities. We're at a really interesting moment of AI enablement, which might be giving all the voice, but I would say there's always a counterpoint to what is the current trend, which is what is the counterpoint to it. And I really think human connection, building capacity is even more important. If you haven't met me before, I'm an author, multiple books. Some of my newer writing is coming out in the next couple of months. We have Flow Flex Scale, which is for solopreneurs, a solopreneur operating system coming out in the summer of 2026, July, August. And the Capacity Playbook will be out in 2027 through Routledge. I have been passionate about taking individuals, groups, organizations through experiential processes, and that's part of what we're doing here. So, really want to invite you. Know so many of you these days watch us asynchronously, curious about what's getting sparked for you. And I thought it might be nice today to pull out some of our charms. Let's see if I've got the charms here. I know I've actually got the dice. So I'm going to bring out the dice for a bit of a roll. And just curious to know what is getting sparked for you in this moment in time. I've got our green set. And so let's just do a little sparker, see what comes up. We've got yes, no. So decision making, decision making. We've got focus. What are you focusing on? And we also have, just looking at this, motivation. So we've got motivation, we've got decision making, and we have got this one here of focus. What's in focus? Curious, just going to give you 30 seconds to take some notes on what is important about these for you. So that's about 30 seconds. I think this is a really interesting one. And what I've been noticing lately with using the dice in group coaching calls, in team coaching sessions, at retreats, and even at conferences is how our focus is really, it's hard for a lot of people to focus right now. There's a lot of big decisions that are being made, sometimes out of people's control. And so, that's impacting a lot of motivation. I'm really noticing for entrepreneurs, the whole pressure of looking at how do we create an AI enabled environment can also be having huge influence on that. And so, what I'm excited about is we are continuing to move along with our group and team coaching training. We have a number of programs starting this month. We'll just leave this here and you can take a look at it. But here's what I think is important coming up. We've got Team Coaching Essentials, which is the first of three courses on the trifecta pathway. So many of you have joined us for maybe Group Coaching Essentials, and maybe you've done Team Coaching Essentials or the Practicum. These three courses together provide you with 32 hours of continuing coach education. And so in a couple of weeks, May 19th, Tuesdays, 8:30 to 10 a.m., I'll be kicking off the next Team Coaching Essentials in the evolving landscape. What is different about our program right now is we're really looking at what happens in AI-enabled environments. What is happening? And so you'll notice with group coaching, right, how is AI infusing? I would say, and I think the big question right now for a lot of people is, will coaching be replaced? And I would say absolutely not. In fact, I think group coaching and team coaching is becoming even more important. The need for human connection, for knowing that we're not alone, for really feeling part of a bigger whole is such an important part. And so many of you know that my next writing is really taking me into the landscape of human connection design. It's a coaching informed, experience driven approach to shaping how people connect, collaborate, and create together at work. And it focuses on intentionally designing the conditions where meaningful relationships form, conversations flow, creativity emerges, and innovation becomes possible. So notice all those different landscapes. If you've been following me in FlowFlex Scale, we've been looking at all of these: connection, collaboration, intentional design, creation. So even if you're in a micro business working for yourself or you're part of a larger organizational fabric, connection is critical. And really, I want to assert that rather than treating connection as a soft skill or a byproduct of work, human connection makes us a strategic capability. I've increasingly seen more and more coaches looking at some of the work that I'm doing with organizations saying, that's really interesting. How are you intentionally designing with organizational teams of sometimes they're HR, sometimes they're talent, sometimes they are experienced designers themselves in CX, EX. We're doing a lot of work right now around how do we intentionally design, plan, and practice these moments of people to have where it's memorable, where it's impactful, where it stands out. And that comes back to choices. You know, it's interesting that we have decision making because it is the deliberative choices in how we structure interactions, experiences, and moments that matter. So this is work that you'll be seeing come out in the next many months. I think it's a really important landscape. And at its core, it is about many of the things we do as coaches, designing relational safety and trust. If we do not have trust in organizations, in teams, in communities, it's very hard to do the work. We also want to make sure that we're creating space for dialogue, reflection, and sense making, and then creating that shared ownership and co creating together. I want to say one of the things that I'm still so passionate about is really the experiential roadshow and inviting generative thinking and possibility. I've been running for the last couple of months the Make It Visual retreats, and those have been really impactful for people attending because it's taking concepts and getting it on the back of the napkin, as Dan Rome would say. It's about taking our ideas and getting them out on the landscape. And that helps us really move the needle on change, right? We, including myself, are really change fatigued. The change keeps coming. But how do we ensure that that is an iterative cycle upwards? And part of that is about, I think, bringing a spirit of play. So I hope that even if you're here asynchronously today, you're enjoying the dice. I want to say a lot of our work here at Potentials Realized is continuing to look at what is the next wave. And I really feel that it is all about coaching capacity, building the capacity to think, connect, and create a better future together. We are wanting to really build capacity on multiple layers. First of all, our cognitive capacity, our ability to think critically, make sense of complexity, and see new possibilities. This is especially important in an era of AI where some of the earliest research is showing that actually there is a pretty significant impact on cognitive functioning because of AI. So, what are you handing off? AI, what are you even listening to as you look at this? And how is my work even being indexed? I think there's a creative and a cognitive piece that we want to be making sure that there's enough friction so that we are not really just following the moat. Second capacity I want to really shine a light on, and you can see it in our work on multiple levels with the Conversation Sparkers, with our retreats, with the Make It Visual, creative capacity. How are we helping people envision new ideas, innovation, and designing what's next? The world is in a moment of meta crisis, polycrisis, as they often talk about it. And having lived and worked at the front lines of rebuilding countries post natural disaster, we also know that we need to keep our eye on what's next. At some point, we move from not just a recovery phase, but a build phase. And so creative capacity is something that I think is going to be really important in the future. We know even from the World Economic Forum that this is part of what is part of the next skills of the future. Adaptation is key. Critical capacity number 3. And flow, flex, scale for solopreneurs has flex right in that midpoint. How are we navigating change? How are we dealing with ambiguity? How are we dealing with uncertainty? Or even in today's landscape of banning, where things are brittle, they are ambiguous, right? They are incomprehensible. And really, within a Banny context, we want to make sure that we are actually able to reimagine, re engage. And that requires resilience. And so, invitation to coaches to be thinking about what are in your toolbox, what is in your toolbox around the adaptive capacity. The next area is relational capacity, our ability to build trust, strengthen relationships, and collaborate effectively. And if you've been with us on any of our programs over the last decade, especially, you'll know that the triad of trust, safety, and connection that I first started writing about back in 2017 is at the heart of our work. It's at the heart of our work as group coaches. We can't have a coaching conversation if people don't trust. That takes us then to our emotional capacity. Many of you are wellness coaches, and it's our ability to recognize, understand, and manage emotions, your emotions and others' emotions, so that we can be building things in a sustainable way. I had someone ask me a couple of years ago, is sustainable change really possible? And I would assert that yes, absolutely. We want to continue to hold that as a metric. What is seven generation? Will we be here in seven generations? That is left to be seen. But at least in our work, we take a stand around sustainability, ensuring that we leave places better than we arrived at. And with sustainable capacity, whether you're a business owner, a leader, or a coach, it really is the ability to sustain energy, to ensure well being, so that you can have impact over the long term. As a coach, I've been in this business for almost 2.5 decades now. 22 years under the umbrella of this business, 25 years when I started as a leader. And my work has always been about what is the next generation, not only my son's generation, but the generations that are still to come. When we can really harness all of these, our cognitive capacity, creative capacity, adaptive capacity, relational capacity, emotional capacity, and sustainable capacity, we are really able to realize our potentials, just as we are known here at Potentials Realized. And most importantly, collective impact multiplies. If anything, that the world is teaching us right now is the importance of collective energy, collective execution. So we're in an interesting moment, right? And very much AI enablement is happening. It does allow us to delegate. And if you're a coach, really want to get you thinking about how are you able to delegate some of your content, your image creation, your workflows, and are you activating agentic AI? I love what I'm able to do these days with chat. And I'm coming back to our coaching capacities that you're going to see published through Routledge in the new year. Really, it is about up-leveling our work. I no longer have to go and wait on a designer who doesn't get my input. I can go to my chats and really have them who know my style come out with something that is really more unique. And so that's what I've been doing since last spring through our AI empowered coach and solopreneur booster. Our next one is going to happen on Friday, May 22nd from 12:30 to 4:30 in the afternoon. We are going to come together and work on three core areas of our business: on content, on workflows, and also on designing programming for you. I'm going to be opening up my toolbox and sharing things, not only like chat, but other things like Napkin. I've been experimenting with AI for about 3 years now, since it first came out. And as chat says, I'm in the top 1% of users. We use it a lot for a lot of variety of things, not necessarily for writing, but very much for brainstorming, for creative process, etc. My journey this spring is going to be looking at really how do I make components of this business agentic. There's some risk in that, but I think it's really important because as a solopreneur, as a micro business, I have had since day one of this business not an image to create a 50-person business. That was never my intention of Potentials Realized. I've kept us lean and mean and responsive to the growth and the ebbs and flows of business. We will be utilizing a lot of agents as appropriate in the back end of the business, in administration, in design work, etc. Because there are a lot of things that aren't client facing, aren't customer facing, aren't group facing that can be delegated. So if you want to come and experiment with it, I hope you'll consider joining me and a few others on Friday, May 22nd for our next 4-hour AI Booster Day. What you can expect every hour, we look at something different. So we spend an hour working on our content. We spend an hour working on our workflows. We spend an hour working on a project of our choice. And then we also have some time because it's 4 hours. There's time for you to ask questions. And I have to say, one of the most satisfying things that I've seen over the last year is coaches leaving the program feeling more confident about what guardrails do they want to put in place? How can they be experimenting more in their work? Now, part of doing the work, part of being seen in today's era is about showing up. And I have had a lot of fun. We're now in May. We have done and completed last night 2 rounds of the 26 for 26. These are 26 days of 26 minutes. Actually, it works out to 45 minutes a day of virtual co working. And the next one is going to be kicking off based on request in a few weeks. So, May 19th. Tuesday, May 19th, we're kicking off again to give you some dedicated space. This space is now going to be weekdays from 3 to 3:45 p.m. and it's going to allow you to move your most important projects forward for 26 days. What is interesting, even if, and most days we do actually average around 38 to 43 minutes because we come together, we do a quick check in, we do a quick creative spark, and then we get into our work. I have seen, even in this year, this is year 6 of doing these virtual co-working sprints. I have seen major projects move across the finish line. People actually, let's start from small, right? Completing taxes, completing administrative tasks, doing their content. I've seen people building out new relationships. I've seen people building out courses. I would assert that we're going to have that continuing because, you can design the course, but then you need to build the course and you need to market the course. And we're seeing that in the 3 phases of 2026. So I hope you'll check it out. There is an early bird rate on. You can go to 26for26.ca, www.26for26.ca. It is all on Zoom. And so I hope that you'll join me most Mondays through Thursdays, a couple of Fridays. We're going to get started on May 19th. And just imagine, what if you could bring one project over the finish line by X date. Our final date will be June 30th, just before Canada Day, and that'll be our last afternoon together. What I've been working on this year is moving FlowFlex Scale over the finish line. And some of you know that I picked up that project in January of 2025. It is emerged out of a book that I started writing back in 2020. Obviously, 2020, different landscape for solopreneurism, even more important today, especially in an agentic era. And that's what the book is partially about. But it's really solopreneurial operating system for you in looking at how can you flow, how do you flex, and how do you scale. Stay tuned for more because I've been using the 26 to 26 to not only like retool that book that started last year. We launched last fall the FlowFlex Scale 90-Day Lab. We're now in its 3rd cohort, and it has had some amazing spin-offs. There is going to be AI tools. There's a whole bunch of things that are coming. Some of you even are using the 2026 planner, right? So it's a whole body of work, and I share that with joy because it has been joyful bringing apart or bringing across this project that could have come apart many, many times because in big work, in world changing work, it is not easy. We hit the roadblock. And while it might be great to meet with a coach every couple of weeks, it's not moving people forward and fast enough in today's work environment. So I hope that you'll consider joining me for 6 weeks from now on the 19th of May until June the 30th, every weekday or almost every weekday from 3 to 3:45 p.m. Bring your projects, see what happens. Sometimes, and I'm not going to go into a lot of details, but we have seen people joining this year and they have been in a stuck or in a stall. And at some point that shifts. And typically it shifts in one of the blocks of time, which is really amazing in a world of stuckness. So, what are clients needing right now? I really wanted to do this hot topic because I hope that if anything, it is going to get you thinking differently about your work. I've talked a lot about context because the context is changing rapidly. And I think clients, our group coaching clients, are needing different things right now. Need short bursts. People's attention has diminished, whether been because of AI brain fry, which is really a thing, and people are overwhelmed. People are really struggling with all this data that's coming at them. So, short bursts may be what people want. We have had some of our most popular programming this year with the Make It Visual micro retreats. It's no longer a day long retreat, it's a 3 hour retreat where we come together and work together. And that's a creative approach. If you're not following me yet on Substack at flowflexscale.substack.com, I hope you will because I've been doing not only solopreneur tips, but a Make It Visual series where that really taps into the creative aspect of things. When we sit down to draw, when we sit down to create, we see new things and it gives us some new options and some new approaches. Yesterday I sat down and I was listening, or I went out to the lake here. We've really had a crazy dramatic week, but the world is sort of crazy and dramatic, and I think it's a fitting metaphor. Saturday, we had snow. We had snow while I was up north and I was raking the leaves from last fall. Yesterday, it was shorts weather, and today it's sort of in the midpoint. But I share that because I took out with me this latest edition of Choice magazine. I'm sorry that I don't have it here, but it's very fitting that the edition for spring of 2026 is Choice. And I really want to applaud Gary Schleifer, who has had me on his podcast many, many times. But what's useful about that is there's a variety of great questions. We're all facing choice points, whether it's personal, whether it's business related, whether it's deciding, do I keep doing this? Do I not keep doing this? And it's hard to navigate that alone. I think this is why, as I said earlier, coaching, hell yes, is going to be here. We can't navigate it alone. And as much as our AI partners might be very trusty and very great at quick replies, are they understanding the nuance, the context, the layers of real decision making in a time of immense change? And so I think that's where our presence, our ability to hold the space for people to talk through things is so important, as well as these creative moments where things can emerge that people have never seen. So I invite you to think about what your clients need right now. I would say a couple of other things: discernment, right? How do I, again, discern what's important? With so much coming at us, so many massive, life changing issues at many moments in time, discernment is a core skill. And so that takes us back, no surprise, to the notion of, it's so interesting, the notion of our decision making. How are we helping people make better decisions? Just last night, sent the second round of edits for FlowFlex Scale out, and really, part of it is also looking at decision making. How are we making decisions? How are we making decisions aligned not only with our values but our vision? And is our vision still our vision? Part of our ability to make good decisions is about getting grounded and being able to focus, not being reactive. And this is where I have seen now for the third time in a 9 month period, just the power of FlowFlex Scale. Again, this whole body of work came out of 8 years of coaching businesses in the Coaching Biz Growth Lab. That was a 1 year program. And yes, I'm going to say it was powerful. Those that attended, you left with greater clarity, greater impact, but it wasn't the same as we're seeing now in a 90-day cycle where we start every week coming together. We end every week coming together. There is a rhythm that people are finding even after 4 or 5 weeks. That's not 4 or 5 months. And I would assert that in today's business context, we need to be doing things in a much faster, rapid iteration, while also creating these moments, hopefully micro or at least macro moments of pause to connect, to make sure that we are resourcing ourselves and also making the best decisions with the information we have possible. We've done a recent, I want to just do a little plug for our Coaching Money podcast. We're just about to wrap up season two, but I think there's a really important episode, episode 50, which we call the derivatives of group coaching. And this gets into some of the more creative program offerings. And if you're thinking about what do I want to do with this work, maybe people aren't gravitating to things that historically have always been true. Maybe there's an iteration, maybe there's a derivative of what you can be offering up. So that's a few things that I'm seeing across the landscape of group coaching. Again, so many of you are seasoned, some of you are new. I think you want to keep listening for what your clients want. They are going to in focus on that. So, what's important to focus on? I think it's really about working on your business, right? If we want to make sure that we're still here as a business, it is about really working on your business strategically. It is about relationships. And so we're going to continue to double down. I don't have the graphic, but you'll see it over on Facebook. FlowFlex Scale 90-Day Lab runs. You can join us at any time for a 90-day cycle. We've got the AI Booster Days. I'm going to be doing weekends with business owners up north at the Beauty of Muskoka, here at the harbor, at Friday Harbor, and of course, our virtual co-working sprints. So I really think that's a great entry point. If you want to get a little bit of traction, 3 to 3:45 p.m. I put 3 to 4 p.m. because sometimes we wrap up about 10 minutes before the hour, but the sprint will finish at 3:45 p.m. We've also got our ICF CCE training, and I've got the May program also starting on Tuesday, May 19th. That's going to be an 8:30 in the morning. And that'll run into group coaching essentials in July and August, and our practicum in September, October. So you can do the trifecta. You can get that 34 CCE trifecta. I'll also be doing on the 19th, it's going to be a big day, 6 to 9 p.m., our 3-hour micro retreat with Make It Visual. So I hope that you've enjoyed this. I want to take us back to this and just invite you to think about what are you doing to resource yourself as a coaching supervisor. Last week, 2 weeks ago, we had the America's Coaching Supervision Network conference. A big shout out to Lily Sato and Damien Goldvarg for hosting that, the speakers who really took us as coaching supervisors through, because to me, it is about creating enabling spaces so that we can think, we can connect, and we can create a better future together. I can't wait to bring this body of work out to you. It is going to take longer because it is in the hands of Routledge. It'll be out in early 2027. Before then, you will have the solopreneur operating system of FlowFlex Scale. And it really has been a pleasure. I want to say we continue to enjoy what we're doing. We have a variety of things. You're going to have Ivana with Group Coaching Essentials. We also have Neela coming back. It's offered twice a year, neuroscience, learning, and experiential approaches for group and team coaches. So with that, I hope that you're well. Check us out online, groupcoachingessentials.ca, and you can always set up a call with me at 15 minutes, and we'll talk to you soon. Okay, have a good one, everyone. Be well. Take care.